Listen, just listen to the sound. No music, no voices, only waves. This is the sound that carried ships across oceans, long before our time. On those ships came people, soldiers, traders, preachers, and ideas. Some ideas became laws and constitutions. Some became churches and new religions. Some spread quietly, from hand to hand, from oath to oath. One of those ideas took shape in a brotherhood. They called themselves the Freemasons. In this film we follow their story, from the dust of cathedral yards to the halls of parliaments, from London to America to New Zealand. We will meet kings, presidents, and prime ministers. We will touch on rituals, symbols, and charity. And we will ask a simple question. What happens when a secretive fraternity sits close to power? For centuries, I am not here to tell you what to believe. I am here to lay out history, names, dates, events. You can decide what it means. Chapter 1. Stone and Symbol. Our story begins in medieval Europe. Look at a Gothic cathedral, high stone walls, arches and towers that seem to defy gravity. Someone had to build all of that. Those people were stonemasons. They cut and shaped stone. They worked on castles, cathedrals, and bridges. They traveled wherever the work was. To protect their trade, they formed lodges. A lodge was more than a workshop. It was a community. Inside the lodge they set rules. They agreed on wages. They trained apprentices. They protected secrets of design and measurement. They looked after members who were injured or sick. These men were operative masons. They worked with real stone. Their tools were simple and practical. The square, the compass, the level, the plumb line. At first, these tools had one job. They helped build straight and true. Over time, they began to carry a second meaning. The square began to suggest fairness. The compass suggested self-control and limits. The level suggested equality. The plumb line suggested upright behavior. The work was still physical, but the tools had become symbols, and symbols are powerful. Chapter 2. London, 1717. A modern fraternity emerges. Jump forward to early 18th century London. The city is full of taverns and coffee houses. People argue about politics, science, and religion. It is the age of the Enlightenment. In this world, several lodges already exist. They no longer build cathedrals. They meet for fellowship and moral instruction. On a day in June 1717, representatives from 4 London lodges meet. They decide to create something new, a Grand Lodge. They elect Anthony Sayer as Grand Master. It seems like a simple step, but this is the institutional birth of modern Freemasonry. A few years later, in 1723, a Scottish minister named James Anderson publishes a book. It is called The Constitutions of the Freemasons. In it, he mixes legendary stories with rules. He assigns ancient origins to the craft. He sets out duties to God, to neighbor, and to civil authority. He describes how lodges should operate. This book helps standardize Freemasonry. From now on, a lodge is not just a local club. It is part of a wider system with shared rules and myths. Grand lodges appear in Scotland and Ireland. Rival Grand Lodges appear in England. They quarrel. They eventually unite. But one thing is clear. Freemasonry has become portable. You can carry its rules and rituals in a trunk. You can set up a lodge anywhere you can gather men of like mind. Chapter 3. Empire and Expansion. The 18th century is also the age of empires. The British Empire grows. It stretches into North America, the Caribbean, India, Africa, Australia, and the Pacific. Freemasonry travels along the same routes. Officers take it into their regiments. Merchants carry it to ports and trading houses. Colonial officials carry it into new capitals and settlements. Lodges appear in Caribbean islands. They appear in Canadian towns. They appear in Indian cities. They appear in Australian and Pacific ports. For many men, joining a lodge offers several things: belonging in a strange place, contact with people of status, a code of behavior that emphasizes honor and charity, a network that stretches beyond their hometown. From the outside, a lodge looks like a social club. From the inside, it is also a school of symbols, a place for ritual, a place where men call each other brother. This expanding network sets the stage for our next chapter: Freemasonry in the American colonies. Chapter 4: Freemasonry in colonial America. There is no single moment when Freemasonry lands in America. It arrives quietly with people. By the early 1700s, there are Masons in port cities like Philadelphia. They meet in taverns. They refer to each other as brethren. In Boston, a man named Henry Price becomes important. He is a merchant and tailor. He travels to London. There he receives authority from the Grand Lodge to act as a provincial Grand Master for New England and nearby territories. In 1733 he returns and establishes a provincial Grand Lodge in Boston. He charters lodges in the region. This helps plant formal Freemasonry in North America. In Philadelphia, the craft also takes root. Benjamin Franklin joins a lodge there. He becomes a leader in Pennsylvania Masonry. He prints Masonic texts. He corresponds with lodges in Britain and Europe. He uses his skills in printing and politics to strengthen the network. By the middle of the 18th century, lodges exist in many colonies: in Massachusetts and Pennsylvania, in New York and Rhode Island, in the Carolinas and Georgia. Members include merchants, lawyers, colonial officers, and local elites. They meet for fellowship. They perform ritual. They discuss ideas. Freemasonry has become part of colonial high society. Chapter 5: Revolution, Founding, and a Masonic Capstone. As tensions grow between Britain and the colonies, Freemasonry is part of the social world of many leaders. George Washington is a Mason. He is initiated in a Virginia lodge. Later, he will be celebrated by Masons as a model of virtue and leadership. Benjamin Franklin is a Mason and a Grand Master. He is a printer, inventor, and diplomat. He moves comfortably between lodges and political assemblies. Other Masons are active in the Revolutionary period. Men like Paul Revere and Joseph Warren in Massachusetts. European helpers like Lafayette and von Steuben. Mainstream historians are careful about cause and effect. They do not say that Freemasonry causes the American Revolution, but they do say this: Masonic lodges promote ideas of reason, liberty, and equality before the law. They give colonial elites a place to meet across social and religious lines. They build trust and shared language. One event stands out. In September 1793, a ceremony takes place in the new federal city. A cornerstone for the United States Capitol is laid. George Washington presides in Masonic regalia. He uses Masonic tools. He performs a Masonic-styled ceremony. To supporters, this scene shows harmony between the new republic and the ideals of the craft. To critics, it looks like a secret society, leaving its mark on the heart of government. The stone is the same. The interpretation is different. What is certain is this: from the beginning of the United States, Masons are present at crucial moments. That does not prove a hidden command. It does show closeness to power. Chapter 6: Backlash. The Morgan Affair and the Anti-Masonic Party. In the early 1800s, Freemasonry in America is strong. Then a crisis explodes. In 1826, a man named William Morgan lives in upstate New York. He has links to a lodge. He announces that he plans to publish a book that will expose Masonic secrets. Soon he is arrested on a minor charge. Then he disappears. Many people believe he has been kidnapped and murdered by Masons. There is never a clear body or verdict, but the public is outraged. Preachers condemn the lodge. Newspapers attack it. People fear that juries, judges, and officials who are Masons protect each other. Out of this anger, a new political force emerges, the Anti-Masonic Party. This party claims that secret oaths are incompatible with a republic. They say a Mason cannot be loyal to both lodge and constitution. They organize rallies and conventions. They even ran a presidential candidate. For a time, the party is powerful, especially in parts of the Northeast. Many lodges close. Membership drops. Freemasonry's reputation is badly damaged. Eventually, the movement fades and merges into other parties. But the lesson is clear. Freemasonry is not untouchable. It can be feared as a hidden power, and it can be punished by public opinion. Chapter 7. 19th Century Temples and Charity. Despite the backlash, Freemasonry recovers. By the mid and late 19th century, it is growing again. Lodges follow the American frontier west. In small towns and rural communities, simple lodge buildings appear. Often they are two-story wooden halls. The ground floor is used for shops or meetings. The upper floor is the lodge room. In cities, the fraternity builds bigger. Grand Masonic temples rise in places like Philadelphia and Detroit. They are decorated with columns, stained glass, and symbolic carvings. Inside, different rooms are designed for different rites and degrees. At the same time, charitable work expands. A group called the Shriners forms as an appendant body. By the early 20th century, they create a network of hospitals for children. These hospitals focus on orthopedic care and burns. They are funded by member dues and donations. Grand lodges and local lodges also support orphanages, homes for the elderly, and relief funds. From the outside, Freemasonry now looks like two things at once. It is a serious, exclusive fraternity with ritual and secrecy, and it is a large charitable force building impressive public institutions. This double image will follow the craft into the modern age. Chapter 8. Freemasonry in New Zealand. Now we cross again, this time to the South Pacific, to New Zealand. Freemasonry arrives here in the 19th century with British and other European settlers. Early lodges operate under English, Scottish, and Irish constitutions. They are often found in growing towns and port cities. The membership base is similar to elsewhere in the empire. Businessmen, civil servants, professionals, local politicians. For many of them, the lodge is a familiar piece of home. It provides community, ritual, and mutual help. By the late 1880s, some leaders feel it is time for a national body. After debate and some conflict, the Grand Lodge of New Zealand is formed in 1890. Not all lodges join. There is tension between those who stay attached to overseas Grand Lodges and those who move to the new national structure. Over time, the balance settles. Dozens of lodges come under the Grand Lodge of New Zealand. Several important New Zealand political figures are Freemasons. Richard John Seddon, a long-serving premier, is involved in the craft. Francis Henry Dillon Bell, briefly Prime Minister, is a Grand Master and helps secure recognition of the New Zealand Grand Lodge from overseas Masons. William Ferguson Massey, Prime Minister from 1912 to 1925, is also remembered as a committed Mason. Sidney Holland, Prime Minister in the mid-20th century, is described in reports as a Freemason. Sir Keith Holyoake, one of New Zealand's most significant political leaders and later Governor-General, is widely associated with Freemasonry in historical commentary. Historians note that in these decades, lodges act as key meeting places for the Protestant middle and upper classes. Business deals, political relationships, and community projects often grow out of lodge connections. Again, this does not prove that Freemasonry runs New Zealand, but it does show that the fraternity sits close to power. It acts as a parallel social infrastructure for national elites. Chapter 9. 20th Century Power and Science. As the 20th century unfolds, the list of notable Freemasons continues to grow. In the United States, Franklin D. Roosevelt, President during the Great Depression and World War II, is a Mason. Harry S. Truman, who ends the war in the Pacific and shapes the early Cold War, is not only a Mason, but serves as Grand Master of his state Grand Lodge before becoming President. In Britain, Winston Churchill, wartime Prime Minister, has Masonic ties from earlier in his life. In science and medicine, Masonic sources and historical records associate figures like Edward Jenner, who pioneered smallpox vaccination, Joseph Lister, who advanced antiseptic surgery, and Alexander Fleming, who discovered penicillin with the craft. In communication and invention, Samuel Morse, linked to the telegraph and Morse code, is also named as a Mason. And in the arts, names like Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, Mark Twain, and Oscar Wilde appear in Masonic lists and discussions. Each case is individual and complex. Being a Freemason does not explain their genius, but taken together, these names show how deeply Freemasonry penetrates into many fields: government, the military, science, business, culture. This is the raw material from which some people build theories of hidden control, and also the reason historians take the fraternity seriously as a social force. Chapter 10. Rituals, Handshakes, and Symbols. Inside the lodge, Freemasonry speaks its own language. It is a language of ritual, symbols, signs, and words. Members progress through degrees. Each degree is like a small play, with lines, movements, and symbolic actions. These ceremonies draw on stories from building, from legend, and from the Bible. Masons have traditional signs and handshakes that help them recognize each other. They have passwords linked to specific degrees. In some places and times, these details are very closely guarded. In others, they have been published or leaked. There are also symbolic postures and gestures. They serve to anchor the story of each degree. They reinforce lessons about loyalty, honesty, and mortality. Then there are the working tools: the square, compass, level, plumb, and trowel. Each tool is used as a moral metaphor. The square tells a Mason to square his actions. The compass tells him to keep his desires within bounds. The level reminds him that, at least in the lodge, all stand on the same level. The plumb reminds him to walk uprightly. The trowel encourages him to spread the cement of brotherly love. Outside observers often fixate on the secrecy of these things. For some, secrecy itself is a red flag. For members, the secrecy is part of the bonding. It turns abstract ideas into a shared inner world. Secrecy also invites speculation. That is why the same signs and symbols have appeared in conspiracy books, documentaries, and online forums for decades. Chapter 11, Scholarships, Hospitals, and Public Charity. Alongside ritual and secrecy, there is another side to Freemasonry, the public side, the charitable side. In North America, Masonic bodies fund hospitals and research. Shriners hospitals provide care for children with orthopedic conditions and burns, often at no cost to families. Scottish Rite bodies run scholarship programs, offering money for higher education to thousands of students. In New Zealand, the Freemasons charity supports university scholarships every year. They award funds to undergraduates and postgraduates. They emphasize both academic ability and community service. Local lodges support food banks, disaster relief, and community halls. They raise money with dinners, raffles, and public events. For many members, this is the heart of Freemasonry. Ritual is what binds them. Charity is what justifies them. From this perspective, the craft is a force for good. It takes discipline and tradition and turns them into practical help. Once again, both images are true. Freemasonry is secretive, and Freemasonry is public and generous. It depends on where you look. Chapter 12, Historians, Critics, and Possibility. So what do we do with all of this? We have seen Freemasonry's roots in medieval guilds. We have seen its formal birth in London. We have watched it spread across the British Empire. We have watched it interact with the founding of the United States. We have seen it embedded in New Zealand politics. We have seen famous names in its ranks. Mainstream historians generally agree on several points. First, Freemasonry is real. It is not a myth. It is a well-documented fraternity with lodge records, minutes, and printed rituals. Second, its influence is real. It created networks of trust among elites that gave men of power a shared culture and shared symbols. Third, the evidence for a single centralized global command structure is weak. Grand lodges are independent. Masons often disagree among themselves. Many major decisions in history can be explained without invoking a hidden Masonic order. On the other side, alternative commentators see things differently. David Icke, Mark Passio, Jim Mars, Jordan Maxwell, Janet Ossobard, and others view Freemasonry as part of a larger architecture of control. They point to overlapping memberships between Freemasons, bankers, politicians, and royal families. They analyze symbols and buildings, logos, and public ceremonies. They argue that these point to a deeper, hidden plan. Their views are controversial. They go far beyond what mainstream scholarship accepts. But they resonate with many people who sense that something is off in the structures that run our lives. Where you stand between these two views is up to you. One thing is certain. Freemasonry created a space where people in positions of influence met, trusted each other, and sometimes helped each other. That alone gives it historical importance. Whether that adds up to a global conspiracy or simply to a lasting old boys network is the live question. Chapter 13, Return to the Sea. We began with the sound of waves. We end there too. We have walked a long path from medieval masons shaping stone to London lodges shaping a fraternity, from Henry Price, Benjamin Franklin, and George Washington in colonial America, to the laying of the Capitol cornerstone, to the Morgan affair and the first anti-Masonic backlash, to 19th century temples and Shriners hospitals, to New Zealand's Grand Lodge and prime ministers like Richard Seddon, William Massey, Francis Bell, Sidney Holland, and Sir Keith Holyoake, to modern scholarship, charity, and controversy. We have seen Freemasons in uniforms and in suits, in laboratories and in churches, in courts and in cabinet rooms. Could such a network be used, if its members chose, to shape events on a massive scale? The answer is yes, it could. Is there clear proof that this has happened in a single coordinated way across the globe? The answer so far is no. What we do know is that Freemasonry has helped build the world we live in. Its influence is real. Its limits are real too. In future episodes, we will look at other organizations and stories. We will explore the Jesuits. We will explore modern Illuminati narratives. We will examine how a forged text, the so-called Protocols of Zion, was used to spread hatred and justify persecution. We will look at Mormonism and the claims of Joseph Smith. Each topic will raise the same core questions. How do power and belief intersect? How do symbols guide societies? And how can you stay grounded in your own authentic self while you move through systems you did not design? For now, we return to the sea. Long after lodges and temples crumble into dust, the waves will still be here, washing over the stones, carrying new ships, carrying new ideas. Thank you for listening.
I didn't mean it. I was trying to do good, you know. I thought this, I thought that, and to me, everybody who is in a position to influence your life should come under the same scrutiny as anyone that's treated as a criminal, or is anyone who's treated like your friend. People should all be, put into positions, if they're going to be put into positions, should be highly scrutinized and be completely transparent in all their dealings. As this is not happening, is there any wonder why there's so much turmoil going on in the world right now? That's my closing remarks to you. There are a lot of prominent people, too many prominent people for the Freemasons to not have any influence. And, unfortunately, when people get into positions of power, generally they don't want to share it, and they don't mind hurting other people to stay in that position. So, this is what I see. I see events, I see consequences, I see problem, I see reactions from the public, and then I see solutions being brought in, and I wonder if those solutions were not there pre-existing before the problem was actually brought to the surface. And that's what I see. And in an upcoming video, I will go over things like the Protocols of Zion and the Hegelian dialect. So, yeah, we are spirits, we are consciousness having a human experience. But in this situation, it just goes to show that secret societies, you can actually see, you should be able to see through this video and the facts that are in it, which are all 100% verifiable facts that you can find online, else they would not be allowed on YouTube. So check the facts out, but you will see, it will become obvious to you about how the problems of the world have come about, who these people are, who are the colonists, who are the colonials of the world. And you see, like in Freemasonry, the people down below at the lowest degrees, they don't know the innocent people, so they make a very good front line for a secret society to be able to do other things in the levels above. James Anderson wrote the Constitution for the Freemasons, He was Scottish, right? Oh, that's a pun. But the Scottish Rite was a 33rd degree ritual, a rite that you had to perform to become a 33rd degree Freemason. That was from a Scottish lodge. And so you can tell a 33rd degree Freemason by certain signs. But these people, they don't get seen, they're invisible in public. So you won't see them, you won't know them because their names are not out there. And so yeah, I just put it to you that, you know, you put facts, put 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 facts together, and it does, you know, paint a picture for you. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you enjoy this kind of thing. And if you do, we have other videos coming up regarding history of churches, religions, and secret societies. And you be the judge. It's not me. I'm just putting facts before you. You can connect the dots. All right, family. Have a good one, eh? Thanks for watching.